guys, and welcome back to Couch Critics. I'm Lamia.
And I'm Ruby, and today we're reviewing Kinds of Kindness,
Yes,
which is very weird.
it's kind of weird.
Very weird.
It's the latest Yórgos Lánthimos
movie, who was
He's-
also the director of Poor Things.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No, exactly. That's what I was about to say. And yeah, we've watched it yesterday. Very unique experience, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Halfway in the movie, I looked at Lamia and I was like, "What are we watching? Like, what the
Yeah.
hell is this?"
Like everyone was just as confused as us.
Yeah.
Like all the people who were there, I did not understand where it was going or what it was about. It was just a lot of things happening on screen, and yeah.
And it wasn't one movie, it was three movies. It was like, first of all, the movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes long, and then it's like three different
Wow.
parts. And at the end of each part, we see like not the roll credits, but we see like the name of the actors and everything. So, and it's actually the name of the real actors. So it was very weird.
And
Yeah.
it's always the same actors. How do you feel about directors casting the same actors in their films?
I would have said it would be weird because this movie had almost the same cast as Poor Things. It had Willem Dafoe, it has Emma Stone. These are the two I remember. Mark Ruffalo was not in this one though. But the fact that usually it would feel weird because the relationship is very different, and like for example, in one of the movies, Emma Stone, like in one of the three parts, Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe were close friends. In the other one, he played her father, but in Poor Things, he also played like her kind of adoptive father slash creator. So like it's weird to readapt, but at the same time, since in this movie Kinds of Kindness, it was already three parts, and in all three parts it was the same actors, but it was a different like the cast had different roles. It was kind of less weird to like. It felt like it was. Poor Things could have been one of those three movies, you know, because it was so different and it didn't make sense.
Margaret Querelle was also recast, his wife in the first movie, the
Oh,
young
yes.
actress. Yeah. Yeah, three people were the main cast.
Yeah.
And they were from Poor People. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I don't know. Like it just makes me think of poor people.
Yeah.
Poor
Things.
people, poor things.
We like normal people. Is there something of poor people?
I don't know. Like it's a mix in my head between normal people, poor things, but it's not poor people.
It's poor things.
Poor People is a movie that haven't been done yet.
Maybe we'll do it. Or like Yórgos, if you're watching this and you want to
Here's an idea.
things.
But yeah, I think I liked the people who weren't in Poor Things better. Joe Altwin,
Yeah.
Marco,
yeah.
and Hunter Schafer.
Right.
It's just so refreshing to see new faces with new directors, and it's this director is not the only one who does it, and it just gets old. I'm thinking of Greta Gerwig with Timothée Chalamet and Saoirse Ronan, and it's just so no, like I don't want to see the same people working with the same director. Maybe like after a while you can recast them, but it just feels kind of exclusive.
Yes, it feels exclusive, but I also feel like once you've gotten a momentum between the director and an actor, it just makes it easier to keep working on new movies together because you know how the other person works and like you like their work.
But I just feel like it's too soon. Like when you're trying to make a name up for yourself, because I've never heard of this director before, Poor Things.
Yeah.
And like you just had this huge movie and you won awards for it, and you just recast your same main actress and everything else that you did. It's just it's not it doesn't work. And I we were talking about this like in so many podcasts. I feel like movies right now need a little bit of freshness.
Yeah. And I think that's what Yorgos has been trying to do with Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness. It's just not the freshness I was looking for. I think these movies were really here to challenge what the norm of a movie is because they're so weird, and they're like the things that the actors do in these movies are just very out of the ordinary, and I think that that's their goal. I think the directors and writers just want to create something new, but it's new in a very uncomfortable way, and I think that was the goal. I think the goal was to make a very uncomfortable movie to challenge us as an audience. It's just that you have to be ready to go and watch these kind of movies. You cannot go not expecting anything. Like, be ready to get very uncomfortable.
Totally. The first part of the movie was about this guy who's kind of like I don't get it. Was he like in a relationship with this other guy, or like was he a fan? Or
I think it was a very extreme of like what it's like to be working for someone who has a lot of power.
Mhm.
And I don't think they were in a relationship. I think it was just being manipulated by
Mhm.
the guy portrayed by Willem Dafoe. And I think that was just the point. I think the whole movie is to take like normal situations and push them to the very
Yeah.
extreme to make us re-question if anybody has like a similar normal situation.
Mhm.
And in the first movie, it was Willem Dafoe. He was the like an architect, and he had another architect working for him, and not just the second guy was not just working for him. He also like Willem Dafoe was telling him how to live his personal life. Like he told
Yeah.
him not to have kids. He told him when to eat, what to eat, whether he has to gain weight or lose weight. So yeah, it's just an extreme scenario of what it's like to work for someone.
It's an exploration of codependency
Yeah,
also.
yeah,
Um, and I think that I liked that movie was the one that I liked the least, the first part. The second part is about this guy who loses his wife when she goes away to do some research because
yeah.
she's a scientist, and then once he finds her, she comes back home, and he just realizes that it's not his wife. Although she looks exactly like his wife, but it's not his wife. And then um, things take a twisted turn,
Yeah.
and uh, it, it's an exploration of cannibalism too.
Yeah,
And yeah,
I think that's also a very good representation of codependency as well, because
yeah.
his wife was very codependent of him, and even though he didn't think it was her, she was still willing to do everything for
Hmm.
him. And I don't know what you thought about the last scene. Spoiler alert. In the last scene, he asked his wife to like in one of the scenes, he asked her to make him dinner, and he tells her he wants to eat her finger. And then later he asks to eat his liver, which is very uncomfortable. I think the second one was my least
Hmm.
favorite movie. Uh, and then when she tries to give him her liver chance of dying, and I
Hmm.
think at that point he starts seeing his actual wife, and he
Yeah.
reunites with his actual wife. But in my head, I don't think that was his actual wife. The one he reunites with. That's my first theory, or it could be the other way around. I think the other way to see it is, and I'm just thinking about this right now,
Yeah.
it's that maybe his first, like the first person who showed up, wasn't his real wife, and he was just making up these scenarios in his head because he wanted her to be back, but then
Hmm.
he realized it wasn't her because it was a fictional idea of her. And the only reason why I'm thinking that is because she was wearing the same outfits all along, and it was
Yeah.
the outfit she was wearing when he lost her. So maybe, I don't know, it's very confusing. It's a very confusing movie, and I was waiting, like, even though it was very long, I was willing to stay through it all
Hmm.
just to wait, like, and see what the moral of the story was. But there was no moral. It's everything was up to us. Like, we had to understand it however we wanted to.
It, exactly, like it could be interpreted in so many different
Yeah.
ways. I think I started to get more into the movie when the second part started because
Okay.
I did really like the second part. It felt like an exploration of codependency, but like in a different shape.
Yeah.
It's more about love, and when it's just when one person cares more about the other. And it could also be interpreted as someone who's having a psychotic uh, nerve break, or as someone who's maybe experiencing schizophrenia. And yeah, it's I thought that the second part was cool
Okay.
because whenever you thought that it couldn't get worse, it did. And it reminded me, I don't know if you know, there is this Belgian writer, her name is Amélie Nothomb.
Oh yeah, I love her.
It reminded me of her books because it always starts out as the most basic scenario, and like everyone goes crazy, and it's the same thing here. And
Yeah.
I started enjoying the movie when the second part started.
Yeah.
The third part was a different kind of codependency, which took the form of a cult. And
Right.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you can accept. I was wondering. I was like, where's the codependency? And now, yeah, I just remembered.
Yeah, how someone could leave their family, their kids, to just gain another form of love. And maybe the aim of all of this was just to shine a light on codependency in different shapes and forms, and how it could turn into a form of abuse, and maybe we should be disgusted by
Yeah.
by this form of abuse. And
Yeah, and now that you mention it, I think the greatest like explication of all of this was halfway in the movie, in the second movie. Emma Stone had this monologue to her father about how when she was on the island, she had these dreams about eating chocolate, and she
Mhm.
didn't like chocolate. She loved lamb, but she couldn't eat lamb. So, and chocolate was always there, so she just got used to chocolate.
Yeah.
And it's really, I think codependency is that, and it's like taken to the extreme as well. It's just
Mhm.
when you get used to something that's so comfortable, even though you know it's not what you necessarily want, you just keep it because that's what works for that's what works and that's what's always there. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And also, like in the third movie, we see Emma's character who's a part of a cult,
Hmm.
and at first we wonder why would she leave her husband and her kid
Yeah.
to join a cult, but it's very quickly explained by the fact that her husband is a freak.
Yeah, he's very abusive, and yeah.
Yeah, and it is like the more I talk about it, the more I appreciate it
Yeah.
more, and I definitely liked it more than Poor Things.
Yeah.
Because and it's bold, but I feel like the director hasn't reached his full potential yet. I think that his next movie is gonna be great, because right now what we're seeing is an exploration, and I'm glad that he's sharing this with us because it's truly magnificent. Like what uh, even though I'm not a fan of Poor Things, I have to admit that it's so colorful and it's so beautiful to watch and it's so cool. But yeah,
I have a question for you. Do you think that the director's work is getting better, or we're just getting used to understanding his way of thinking and like his art? Because
I do think it's getting better. I
okay.
do think it's going somewhere darker,
Okay.
and I'm excited to see that. And I do see that he's just bold. He just doesn't. I don't think he cares about what people think. He
Yeah.
just goes with whatever goes on his mind. And also, like now that I'm talking about minds, um, I felt like each part resembled a nightmare. I don't know, like
Yeah.
it was so nightmarish.
And many parts were based on dreams. And, they talked about dreams in the three parts. In the first one, where he said, where the guy
Yeah.
had a dream of following Willem Dafoe, and then he was eating a sandwich, and then he followed him the second time, and he told him, I keep having this dream of like
Yeah.
this moment. The second one, we talked about the dream about chocolate. And the third one, she had the dream about finding the girl. So, yeah, there's
Mhm.
a lot of dreams. And I realized that the dreams are always in black and white, and the reality was always colored. So that was fun. And yeah, so sorry, you were talking about dreams. I'm sorry, I got
Yeah,
carried away.
I maybe what we saw was inspired by his dreams.
Yeah,
I don't think that this movie would have been a success. I mean, I don't know if it's a success yet because it just came out, but I don't think that it would have had the success that it's gonna have if it came out before Poor Things. Because I think that Poor Things prepared people to like get excited about this movie.
yeah, and I think Poor Things was more coherent. Like the
Mhm.
line made sense. At the end, we understood
Yeah.
why the character played by Bella Baxter was this way, and it's because she was a kid in an older person's body.
Mhm.
But in this one, I think something lacked. I don't know if I would understand it better if I were to watch it another time. At the same
Yeah.
time, I don't know if I'm ready to put myself through this movie a second time.
Mhm.
But yeah. I also want to talk about like the music and the cinematography because
Mhm.
I think it was very similar to Poor Things in terms of color. There was the black and white things, which we also saw in Poor Things. I did understand the black and white in this movie better than in Poor Things. In Poor Things, it didn't feel justified to have black and white all of a
Yeah.
sudden. But the music, I think it was genius, very eerie, very uncomfortable. Like people, like at some point when something bad would happen, we would just hear like a choir chanting, "No, no, no."
Yeah.
It was very uncomfortable. It wasn't like horror music, but horror, like the music and horror movies, but it was still very, I don't know. It
Mhm.
just it gave me the chills and like in a weird way, but yeah, it's genius, and it's very, and the piano, it was not beautiful. Like the piano pieces were not beautiful to
Mhm.
hear, but they were just like I don't know, they were annoying. Like I don't know how to
Yeah,
describe it, but
I don't remember the piano pieces, but I do remember the choir
yeah,
who sang no
yeah.
in union whenever someone was
Some
about to do anything.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a bizarre movie. We're still processing it. Like
Yeah.
I definitely don't know.
And we have this thing where we don't talk about the movies before we film it on the podcast
Yeah.
together.
Mhm.
So now that we're talking about it, I feel like we're understanding it better, and we're just like trying to justify it more.
We just say keywords to each other. Bad,
Yeah.
good, maybe.
Yes.
But honestly, I'm surprised that you said that it was 2 hours and 45 minutes
Yeah.
long because I did not feel the time pass by.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's because it was three different movies that
Hmm.
it was different. And at first when I saw that it was 2 hours and 45 before watching it, I was like, oh my God, who's making these long movies? Why are people
Yeah.
making it long? And then when I realized that it's three short movies, I'm like, maybe that's like it makes sense. Is our attention span getting so much shorter that in order to watch a 3 hour movie,
Yeah.
we have to watch like three different movies? I don't know what's like the link there, but I'm pretty sure there's a correlation.
Hmm.
So yeah. Can we also talk about like the loop that happened at the end? Because in the first movie, someone dies, and in the third movie, it comes back to life. And I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, like, is this whole thing a continuous, like, aspect of
Life.
Emily or Emma Stone's movie? Did she try, like, in the first movie she hits this guy with her car and he doesn't die, but someone else kills him, but I'm pretty sure she thought she killed him because she's the one who put him in the hospital. And then the third movie, still the same, like another character played by Emma Stone. She didn't have the same name. In the first movie it was Rita, and the second one it was Emily. But in the third movie she tries to bring him back to life, the same character, and we see the scars were in the same places.
Hmm.
So is it just an evolution of her life? And like, is the second movie
Actually,
a
the third movie was when she was called Emily.
yeah, yeah. And in the second movie she was pregnant.
Hmm.
And in the third movie she had a daughter, and in both movies she had a
Yeah.
toxic husband. So is there, I don't know, is there a link there?
I think that there has to be a link there
Yeah,
because like the guy that she killed in the first movie was the same one who got back to life
yeah.
at the end of it, and
So, yeah.
yeah, that's a cool.
But the thing, the buildings and the houses and the hospitals, like in
Mm.
all three movies, we saw a hospital, but in all three movies, the hospital was very different. It was never the same hospital. Like
Okay.
the first one was way like too modern and all. In the second one, it was very average. We saw only the emergency, and in the third one, we saw the morgue of the hospital. Could have been the same
Mm.
hospital, but we just saw different places of it. I don't know. There's a link there.
Mm.
There's something that makes sense. But yeah, yeah. And Willem Dafoe, that's just this guy. I didn't expect him to see him in like all these roles in the movie, but I think it just
Me neither.
yeah.
He's a great actor,
Hmm.
but I think I've seen too much of him in this
We
movie.
weren't ready to see
Literally.
that much of him. Watch the movie.
It ruined the memory of the Spider-Man memory that I had of him in my head. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. I'm pretty sure we can, like, if you watch it again, we'll find so many things to say about this
Hmm.
movie. It's just one of those movies that's so like confusing that you just can make up anything and like to try to understand it.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Please go watch it. Let us know what you thought. Which part did you like better? And we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.